Okay, Makla. Hi, students. Now let us study how the phase changes in the case of an AC circuit containing pure inductance. As you know well, what is called pure inductor? Pure inductor is a coil of high inductance and negligible resistance. Okay, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ತುಂಬಾ high inductance ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಮತ್ತೆ resistance 0 ಇರಬಹುದು or negligible ಇರಬಹುದು. 0 ಇರಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯವಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಐಡಿಯಲ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. But normally some resistance exists, very small resistance. It is almost negligible. So inductor, pure inductor means it is a coil of high inductance and negligible resistance. Okay, makla. Now question is like this. Question ಏನಂತ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ like this. Show that ನೋಡಿ show that voltage leads current. Voltage leads current by an angle of pi by 2 radian. Pi by 2 radian. In the case of an AC containing pure inductance. It may be asked for 5 mark. Okay, look at this. Show that voltage leads current by an angle pi by 2 radian in the case of an AC containing pure inductance. ಇದು ನಮಗೆ 5 marks ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಮಕ್ಕಳ. Voltage leads current ಅಂದ್ರು ಒಂದೇ or current lags voltage. Current lags voltage by pi by 2 ಅಂದ್ರು ಒಂದೇ. ಓಕೆನಾ? ಸೊ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ನೋಡಿ ನಾನು ಬರೀತೇನೆ. Look at this. Consider ನೋಡಿ ನೀವು ಕೂಡ ಇದೇ ತರ ಬರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗಬೇಕು. Consider an AC source. Consider an AC source connected across a pure inductance coil of inductance L. Of inductance L. Okay, let us write down the diagram. So this is the AC source. Okay. Now this is a representation of coil. See, this is a representation of inductance coil. Okay, now this is a representation of AC source. This is inductance L. This is an AC, applied AC. So I can represent as V is equal to V naught sin omega t. Okay, makla. Now you have to write this diagram. You continuous idu diagram ಬರೀಲೇಬೇಕು. So ಹಂಗಿದ್ರೆ applied AC ಬರೀತೀನಿ. See, applied AC voltage is given by applied AC voltage is given by, I can write down as V is equal to V naught sin omega t. Equation number 1 of the barcode. What is V naught? Where V naught is called peak value of AC, peak value of voltage, peak value of AC or peak value of voltage ಅಂತ ಬೈತಾರೋ ಬರಿಬಹುದು. Okay, see, as the voltage is alternating, current also alternates. The alternating current in the coil is given by, nodi, the alternating current also there. As the current is alternating, EMF is induced. ಅರ್ಥವಾಯ್ತಲ್ಲ? So as the current is changing, ನೋಡಿ, as the current in the coil is changing means varying, EMF is induced. EMF is induced in the coil, okay, and is given by ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಕಾರ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಫ್ಯಾರಡೇಸ್ ಲಾ ಏನ್ ಬರೀಬಹುದು E is equal to minus L into di by dt, minus L into di by dt. Okay, makla, you must understand this. See, we are applying voltage. V is equal to V naught sin omega t. Okay. So current kuda gottide namage. Current also alternating. Okay. See, I is equal to I naught sin omega t bartirutte. But as the current is changing, since the current is changing, so the magnetic flux links in the coil also changes. According to Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction, EMF is induced. As the current in the coil is changing, EMF is induced in the coil and is given by E is equal to minus L into di by dt. Okay. Now let us apply KVL. Kirchhoff's voltage law apply ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. See, from KVL ಬರೀಬೋದಾ? From Kirchhoff's voltage law or loop rule, we have algebraic sum of voltages in a mesh is equal to I into R. Or we can say algebraic sum of EMFs is equal to algebraic sum of IR product. Alva? Adane ಬರೀತೀನಿ ನೋಡಿ. V is applied voltage plus E is the EMF induced. That should be equal to I into R. Look at this. Algebraic sum of EMFs is equal to algebraic sum of IRs. I into R. So this is according to KVL. But here R is equal to 0 because it is a pure inductance and no resistance. It has only inductance, no resistance. Therefore, I can say V plus E is equal to 0. Or I can say, ನೋಡಿ ನಾನು ಸಬ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತೇನೆ, V is equal to minus E ಅಂತ ಬರೀಬಹುದು. Okay ಮಕ್ಕಳ, V is equal to minus E, substitute for E and V. V ಗೆ ಅಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ನೋಡಿ, V naught sin omega t, ಕರೆಕ್ಟಾ, is equal to minus L into di by dt. Okay ಮಕ್ಕಳ, in the equation 1 V ಗೆ ಹಾಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ V naught sin omega t and as far as E is concerned minus L into di by dt. Okay, rearranging ಅಥವಾ ಇದನ್ನ ಬೇಕು minus plus ಆಗುತ್ತಲ್ಲ, L into di by dt. Now I want to establish the current in the coil. Current ಅನ್ನು ಕ್ಯಾಲ್ಕುಲೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. So ಅಂದ್ರೆ we have this equation, ಏನು, V naught sin omega t is equal to L into di by dt. Okay, from this equation separate for di. So di is equal to V naught divided by L sin omega t into dt. Rearrange ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. So V naught sin omega t is equal to L into di by dt. ನನಗೆ di ಬೇಕು. Therefore di is equal to V naught by L sin omega t dt. Very simple. ಇವಾಗ I want I. So this is di is given. ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅವಾಗ? I have to integrate. So integrating the above equation. Integrating above equation. Integrating the above equation. Integrate ಮಾಡೋಣ ನೋಡಿ. Integration of di is equal to integration of V naught by L sin omega t into dt. Okay, integration of di is I only. I is equal to, now you can take out V naught by L as constant, integration sin omega t into dt. Okay na, ಅಥವಾ I can say I is equal to V naught by L. Now what is integration of sin omega t dt? It will be minus cos omega t by omega, because integration of sin omega t dt can be written as minus cos omega t by omega. It is formula. ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿರಬೇಕದು integration formula. Now I can rearrange like this. ಅಥವಾ I is equal ಏನು ಬರೀಬಹುದು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ V0 by omega L ಬರ್ಕೊಂಡು into minus cos omega t. In the next step I can write it as V0 by omega L ಈ minus cos omega t I can write it as sin of omega t minus 90 degree ಅಂತ ಬರ್ಕೋಬಹುದು, because minus cos omega t is equal to sin of omega t minus 90 ಬರ್ಕೋಬಹುದು, because sin of 90 minus theta cos theta ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಸೊ sin of minus theta ಗೊತ್ತಿರಬೇಕು, minus cos ಅಂತ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, minus ಅಂತ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ, ನಾವು ಬರೀಬಹುದು ಹತ್ರ. ಸೊ ಹಂಗಾದ್ರೆ minus cos omega t ನ sin of omega t minus 90, ಸೊ ಕೋ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಇದು sin of 90 minus theta cos theta ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಸೊ ಈ ತರ ಬರೆದ್ರೆ ಏನು ತಪ್ಪಿಲ್ಲ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ರೀಅರೇಂಜ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ. I is equal to V0 by omega L sin of omega t minus 90 degree, or I can say I is equal to, let us write down I0 sin of omega t minus 90 degree ಅಂತ ಬರ್ಕೋಬಹುದು ಆಯ್ತಾ. ಸೊ ವೇರ್ ಅಥವಾ or I can say I is equal to I0 sin omega t, what is 90 degree? Pi by 2 radian, correct? Equation number 2 ಅಂತ ಬರ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. So what is I0? Here I0 is called, ನೋಡಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೀತೀನಿ, where I0 is equal to V0 by omega L is equal to peak value of current, peak value of current in the circuit, peak value of current. Okay, see from equations 1 and 2 it is very clear. Look at this equation 1 ಏನು, equation 1 is this one, V is equal to V0 sin omega t. ನೋಡಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಫೇಸ್ ಟರ್ಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ omega t ಟರ್ಮ್ ಇದೆಯಾ, V is equal to V0 sin omega t ಇದೆಯಾ. ಸೊ ಇವಾಗ I ಗೆ ಏನಾಗಿದೆ, at the same instant of time current in the coil is given by I is equal to, ನೋಡಿ I is equal to I0 sin of omega t minus pi by 2. What do you mean by that? I is equal to I0 sin of omega t minus pi by 2 ಅಂತಿದೆ. What do you mean by that? Current is lagging voltage. ನೋಡಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ವೋಲ್ಟೇಜ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೀ V is equal to V0 sin omega t ಅಂತಿತ್ತು, ಬಟ್ ಅದೇ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಎಷ್ಟಿರುತ್ತೆ, I is equal to I0 sin of omega t minus pi by 2 ಅಂತಿದೆ. ಮೈನಸ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಲಾಗಿಂಗ್ ಅಂತ, ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಲಾಗಿಂಗ್ ಬಿಹೈಂಡ್ ಅಂತ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಲಾಗಿಂಗ್ ಬಿಹೈಂಡ್ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಹೇಳ್ಬಹುದು. ಸೊ ಐ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸೇ, ನಾವು ಹೇಳ್ಬಹುದು ಫ್ರಮ್ ಈಕ್ವೇಶನ್ಸ್ 1 and 2 ಅಂತ ಬರೀತೀನಿ. ನೋಡಿ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಲಾಗಿಂಗ್ ಅಂದ್ರೂ ಒಂದೇ, ವೋಲ್ಟೇಜ್ ಇಸ್ ಲೀಡಿಂಗ್ ಅಂದ್ರೂ ಒಂದೇ. ಸೊ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಈಕ್ವೇಶನ್ಸ್ 1 and 2 it follows that current is lagging voltage by pi by 2 radian or 90 degree, ಅಥವಾ or voltage leads current by pi by 2 radian or 90 degree. ಮಕ್ಕಳ ಇಷ್ಟು ನೀವು ಬರಿಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ 5 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಗೆ. ಆ 3 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ನಾರ್ಮಲಿ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಆಸ್ಕ್ಡ್ ಫಾರ್ 3 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್. ಸೊ ಇಷ್ಟು ಬರಿಬೇಕು. ಶೋ ದಟ್ ವೋಲ್ಟೇಜ್ ಲೀಡ್ಸ್ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಆರ್ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಲ್ಯಾಗ್ಸ್ ವೋಲ್ಟೇಜ್ ಬೈ pi by 2 ಅಂದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ನೋಡಿ ನಾನು ಏನ್ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೇನೆ ಇಷ್ಟ ನೀವು ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟೀಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಮಕ್ಕಳು 5 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಗೆ. ಸೊ ಯು ಮಸ್ಟ್ ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟೀಸ್, ನೀವು ಬರೀಲೇಬೇಕು ಇದನ್ನ. ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ an AC source connected across a pure inductance coil of inductance L. ಡಯಾಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಬರೀತೀರಾ. Okay, applied AC voltage is given by V is equal to V naught sin omega t. What is called V naught? Peak value of voltage. As the current in the coil is changing, EMF is induced in the coil and is given by E is equal to minus L into di by dt. Now from KVL we have V plus is equal to I into R, but R is equal to 0. Or I can say V plus is equal to 0, V is equal to minus E, or V naught, substitute for V and E. V naught sin omega t is equal to minus of minus L into di by dt, or L into di by dt, or V naught sin omega t is equal to L into di by dt, or rearranging for di, because I want current I alwa, hagagi separate ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. Di is equal to V naught by L sin omega t dt. So see, di is known, but I want I value. Therefore, integrate the above equation. So integrating the above equation, our integration of di is equal to integration of V naught by L sin omega t dt. Athava I can say, what is the integration of di? I. So I is equal to V naught by L integration sin omega t dt. Now we must know the formula for integration of sin omega t dt. I is equal to V naught by L, integration of sin omega t is minus cos omega t by omega. The formula. Athwa I can rearrange this. I is equal to V naught by omega L into minus cos omega t barkobada. Omega pargutagidini. Ivaga it can be written, it can rewrite as I is equal to V naught by omega L sin of omega t minus 90 degree. Because minus cos omega t anna now sin of omega t minus 90 degree barkobodu. Okay. Now I is equal to, let us say I naught sin of omega t minus 90, or I is equal to I naught sin of omega t minus pi by 2. What is called I naught? V naught by omega L is called peak value of current induced. Okay. From equations 1 and 2, not equations 1 and 2 observe ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. Voltage equations ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೀ V is equal to V naught sin omega t ಇದೆ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಒಮೆಗಾ ಟಿ ಮಾತ್ರ ಇದೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ಬಟ್ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಈಕ್ವೇಶನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಒಮೆಗಾ ಟಿ ಮೈನಸ್ ಪೈ ಬೈ 2 ಅಂತಿದೆ. ಅಂದ್ರೇನು? ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಮೈನಸ್ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಲ್ಯಾಗಿಂಗ್, ಹಿಂದೆ ಉಳಿದಿದೆ. ಸೊ ವೋಲ್ಟೇಜ್ ಇಸ್ ಅಹೆಡ್, ಮುಂದೆ ಇದೆ. ವೋಲ್ಟೇಜ್ ಅಹೆಡ್ ಲೀಡ್ಸ್ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಬೈ ಪೈ ಬೈ 2. ಸೊ ಅಥವಾ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಲ್ಯಾಗಿಂಗ್, ಲ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಕರೆಂಟ್, ಲ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ವೋಲ್ಟೇಜ್, ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಲ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ವೋಲ್ಟೇಜ್ ಬೈ ಪೈ ಬೈ 2 ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ಆಯ್ತಾ? ದಸ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಈಕ್ವೇಶನ್ಸ್ 1 and 2 ಇಟ್ ಫಾಲೋಸ್ ದಟ್ ಕರೆಂಟ್ is lagging voltage by pi by 2 radian or 90 degree, or voltage leads current by pi by 2 radian or 90 degree. Okay, Makla? Hope you understood this derivation. It may be asked for 3 marks. Practice it. Okay. Thank you for watching.